driving the car and he was seeing Lal Bahadur Shastri standing in the bus stand. He said, I am no more a minister, so I cannot take the government car. And he said, Kamraj, why don't you become? Kamraj said, no, I don't know English, I don't know Hindi. To be a prime minister, you need more qualities. You must know global situation, global relationship. And Ramdari Singh Dinkar died on the lap of Jayaprakash Narayan, right from 1969. He decided that this lady will turn out to be a dictator.
I've been meaning to do a few conversations that will last a longer length of time than most. And it has been my deep aspiration to bring to all the viewers of Republic on Digital a compendium of the lived experience of one of the greatest public intellectuals ever in the history of our country, Mr. S Gurumurthy. Now, all of you know him as in different capacities. He's a warrior. He's been a warrior journalist. He's gone to jail fighting for the truth. He's never changed. He's a deeply spiritual individual, blessed in many ways that cannot be described in words. He's a lawyer. He is a corporate strategist. But most importantly than anything else, his life is a complete dedication to the nation. How does one look at the country through the eyes of a person like this? Mr. Gurumurthy's lived experience, what he has seen, the stories he has to share. Some of it is of course there in a text format. You can search and you can find. But I have always believed whenever I met him that I have had the privilege of hearing a lot of Mr. Gurumurthy, and I wish I had taken a tape recorder on those occasions, or at least recorded it for posterity. Since I was not able to do that, I approached Mr. Gurumurthy and asked him, can I do a 5 or 6 part podcast series with you, where I put your lived experience 1 decade at a time. And I am truly honored and delighted that he has agreed, and he is with me in the studio today. So first of all, Mr. Gurumurthy, once again, seek your blessings as we start this project of bringing your life's experience to all the viewers for posterity.
Thank you, Arnab.
And I'm very delighted and proud that you have agreed to this, that you have chosen Republic to do this.
Actually, I chose only, it is you.
Sir, thank you.
Because, I see in you as a fighter.
Thank you, sir.
That's why I thought that I must share my experience. Society has been my open air university. I've experienced the society. So I thought of sharing the experience of that society, which every Indian must know. That's why I thought I must share my thoughts with you.
Thank you, sir. This is so important because when people hear you speak, they also feel your emotions. They feel that the experiences which you have been through your eyes, your language, and your particularly unique style of narrating things. So I think people will listen, and I really hope they listen. And so I want to start by saying that today, viewers, we will cover Mr. Gurumurthy's life through the 60s and 70s. We'll put it together in one episode. We'll talk for about 1 hour. So may I start by asking you, Mr. Gurumurthy, a broad question. I don't think many people are there watching this who would have a lived experience of the 60s, unless you are at least in your late 60s now. So many people, or more maybe, or maybe early 70s or mid 70s, because you were yourself maybe just an early teenager in the 60s. So
I was doing my college.
You were doing your college. So let's start with 1960, sir, and take it to 1980 in the course of this conversation. What is your earliest recollection of the country and events around the 60s? What is your earliest recollection? Because you're a person who has been a thinking individual, putting things in context since you were very, very young. What do you remember of the 60s? Jawaharlal Nehru was, I think, Prime Minister. The principle of linguistic and cultural identity as the determining principle for state formation was there in the 1960s. It is at that time that 50s, all the states, 14 states and 9 union territories was created. Then integrated territories were grouped into 27 states. Then there was a census in 61. And then the map of Bombay was redrawn. to include Marathi speaking as well as Gujarati speaking regions. Then there were regional movements, linguistic movements, and it was also the root of the Hindi imposition row, because I think in the 1960s the DMK led the protest against the enactment of the Official Languages Act. Annadurai spoke vehemently against the act. He wanted an indefinite continuation of English as the official language. So when I read about the 60s, the first thing which comes to my mind was here was a country that had just become independent, but was it tearing up into languages? Were languages dividing the country rather than bringing them together? In that context, your earliest memories and your recollections, please.
You see, I came to Chennai in 1964. Till then I was in a village. I got educated in a school 5 kilometers from a village in municipal high school in Villupuram. So my knowledge of public affairs was limited to merely the political parties and the elections, which I saw in 1962 as a child. But when I came to the city, then I began understanding the larger aspects of public life. And my understanding was basically through the struggle between the regional party, the DMK, and the national party, the Congress. We were all very highly nationalist as a family, even in the village. So naturally I was drawn to the Congress. I was in the awe of Pandit Nehru and then Lal Bahadur Shastri. This was the time I was beginning to learn about politics, how it shapes the society and how the society shapes politics. I saw that Congress was probably taking this country for granted, that this country is going to be in their hands forever. I think there was a great immaturity that made the Congress feel that there would be no challenge to it. So the 1967 election was the first major challenge to the Congress, when the Congress almost lost majority. It barely got majority. I think they got about 287 seats or something like that, right under 300. And at that time only the many parties joined together to form post-alliance governments in Madhya Pradesh, in UP. That is how people like Charan Singh and others came up, and that is where the socialists and the BJP began working. Even the communists joined the Jansangh supported government in Bihar. And so that was a period of great churning in Indian politics, 1967. But that was also the greatest misfortune of Tamil Nadu, that the DMK captured power, and it captured by a strategic intervention they got from Rajagopalachari, who was a great nationalist and one of the tallest intellectuals of the country. Because of his antipathy to Kamaraj, he put together all the anti-nationals, the communist parties, the DMK, the Muslim League, and they won. And they won hands down. That was the biggest shock for people.
Why do you call them anti-nationals?
Because they wanted to separate from India. Till 1963, they were demanding Dravida Nadu, a separate Dravidian state. Only in 1963, they gave it up. Till then, in fact, the original DK party, led by E.V. Ramsamy Naikar, they celebrated our Independence Day as the Black Day. So this is their origin. In fact, the Dravidian party did not even want to associate with Tamil. Because if you associate with Tamil, it is Sanatana Dharma. That is what was E.V. Ramsamy Naikar's complaint against Tamil. That you touch Tamil literature, whether it is Tirukkural or Silappatikaram or it is the Tolkappiyam or Kambaramayanam, everything is only Sanatana Dharma. The Sangam Tamil literature is Sanatana Dharma. So he said, Tamil is a barbaric language. Tamil literature should be burnt. This was the origin of the DMK. Only because of the anti-Hindi movement. They all turned into great admirers of Tamil. And Congress handed over Tamil to the DMK. Whereas the entire Tamil ethos, literature, everything was built by the congressmen and nationalists. I saw it with my own eyes. That is what made me join the Congress. And for the next 10 years, I worked. I mean, I come from a very ordinary family. We couldn't afford to be in politics because I was the only person to get educated in my family. I'm the last of 4 brothers. My family was in great distress. It was financially in a very poor condition. But still, we all participated in politics. In 1971 election, we were all beaten black and blue. And the way the DMK ruled at that time was almost equal to how Lalu Prasad ruled Bihar. Then I decided to join RSS, that we have to protect ourselves. It is only because of the DMK's atrocities. Though I was in the Congress, I also joined the RSS. This happened in 1971. Then I began understanding the all India politics, then JP movement. Once I joined the RSS, then that expanded my vision from Tamil Nadu to the whole country. Then I thought about the country, where the direction, in which wrong direction it is, which is a mood, and that is what made me participate in larger national politics.
What was happening within the Congress in the 1960s? Because there was the 1961 Goa was brought back from Portugal. Then there was a setback of the 1962 Chinese aggression, which did not go well for us when the Chinese launched an offensive on us. And Nehru blundered. It is said that Nehru blundered in 1962 by being too friendly or trusting the Chinese. And when it didn't go well for us, that he was a broken man, and it's in those circumstances that he died. Then Lal Bahadur Shastri came in. Then he died in mysterious circumstances, and then Indira Gandhi came in. What was that period like? Was it a family trying to continue to keep its hold on power, or was it something else? Was it a very uncertain country in that period?
See, I felt, and at that time what I felt was in an amateurish way. As I now look back and see retrospectively what happened at that time, later I came in association with the Indian Express, Ramnath Goenka, Jayaprakash Narayan. Then I began knowing what was happening at that time. You see, the Congress got into an ideological confusion in 1940. Because the Congress was never a party of this kind. It had Hindu ethos. It had Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. And it even adopted Hindu Rashtra. Because Pandit Nehru wrote in 1935 in his Glimpses of World History, if I remember right, at page 702, that Swami Vivekananda preached very aggressively the concept of Hindu nationalism, and I don't think it is against anybody. So he accepted it. But after Jinnah called for Pakistan, the Congress discarded the word Hindu. It discarded Vande Mataram. It discarded Bharat Mata Ki Jai. It became purely a party without ideology. This confusion deepened after independence and after Mahatma Gandhi died. It is my theory that to finish the Hindu elements in the Congress who looked to Patel for leadership, Nehru openly declared that Muslim communalism is aggressive, but Hindu communalism is dangerous. This is the first time Hindus were called communal in independent India. That became the political style of the Congress. And once they slipped away from nationalism, Johnson took over that place. If you see the BJP today and the starting of Johnson, all the nationalist orientation, slogans, philosophy, methods of the Congress is now the BJP's. The Congress has now become what the Muslim League was. And I think the Prime Minister is right. So now looking at in retrospect, the transformation took place in this period. Jawaharlal Nehru, in his last days in the National Integration Council, he even said that we need a national assimilation policy and the minorities must be assimilated into the national mainstream. This was his speech in the National Integration Council. But the man, he was slowly losing control over the country and himself. Lal Bahadur Shastri was a very different man. But unfortunately, he was snatched away. Then Mrs. Gandhi came. That was the turning point. I will tell you how it happened.
So, but about that, can I ask you a question on Shastri?
Yes.
Shastri died after the Second India-Pakistan War of 1965 over Kashmir. Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar to incite insurgency in India. We attacked them back. There was a UN-mandated ceasefire, and then amidst war and drought, Shastri said, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. It symbolized defense and agriculture. He was an aggressive man. People did not realize this, that Lal Bahadur Shastri even exposed Pakistan in the United Nations for treachery. He wrote a letter saying, you have betrayed the peace agreement. He was not a pacific person. But somewhere, he suddenly died. The moment, the day he and the Pakistan president, I think Muhammad Ayub Khan, signed the Tashkent Declaration, he died.
That night.
That night he died. He went to sleep, he woke up coughing, and he died at 1:30 in the morning. And many people believe that he was poisoned, that he was...
See, it was mysterious, no doubt, and there was no inquiry about it. That's even more important.
Do you think Shastri was... The death of Shastri is a abiding mystery?
It's a mystery.
What do you think about it?
I personally feel that at that time, given the relationship between the Soviet Union and the Nehru family, not exactly that they would have thought that Nehru's legacy will come to Indira Gandhi, but they certainly felt that Nehru legacy is being snatched away to the nationalist domain by Lal Bahadur Shastri. In fact, they are calling Pakistan and India for peace talks in Tashkent itself is a mysterious move. Because Russia was not a great friend of Pakistan. It was not a neutral country. It was supporting us. And in fact, China and Pakistan were closer. And China and Russia were drifting apart. In 1968, they were about to have a war. It was about to become a nuclear war. That is what made China later go to make a deal with America. So if you put all this together, this whole thing looks very mysterious and suspicious.
Viewers, I want to give you a little backdrop. We can run pictures over this. We don't know much about Lal Bahadur Shastri. But I can tell you this, that Lal Bahadur Shastri was a fighter. And he was not a person who would compromise. In fact, many people still believe he was one of the greatest and most short-lived prime ministers of the country. He fought Pakistan. He signed a peace deal, but he told off Pakistan, and the Russians, Soviet Union, Americans realized here is a man who is a nationalist. So as Dr. Gurumurthy says, the nationalist side of the Congress was coming up. Nehru had died. If Shastri had continued, maybe Indira Gandhi would have never become prime minister. And when he died, surprisingly, by the time his body was brought back from Tashkent, the body had turned blue. There was a bluish tint his body had taken, which makes his death one of the biggest mysteries. Films have been made about this. A post-mortem was never carried out. Till now, we don't know how and why Shastri died. So do you believe that had that Shastri had become an obstacle to the Vadra Nehru Gandhi family? He'd
I
become
would
an
say
obstacle.
this much, that they did not want the Congress to become nationalist.
Who is they?
The leftists. After all, the left thinkers in India, even some of the socialists were left thinkers. They dominated the public discourse. They gave direction to the country. The anti-Hindu direction mainly came from the left thinkers in the 50s and 60s and 70s. So, I will tell you an interesting anecdote in the life of Lal Bahadur Shastri.
Please.
Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned as railway minister after the accident which happened in Ariyalur in Tamil Nadu. So Ramnath Goenka told me he was driving the car and he was seeing Lal Bahadur Shastri standing in the bus stand. He said, at that time Ramnathji did not know he had resigned actually, because he had resigned in the parliament, announced the retirement in parliament, resignation in the parliament, and then gave the car back to the government and came and stood in the. He went to Lal Bahadur, why are you standing here? He said, I am no more a minister, so I cannot take the government car. So Ramnath Goenka put him in his car and took him home. He said, my only problem, Ramnath, is, you see, depending upon my salary, I have taken a loan of 10,000 rupees. I do not know how I am going to repay that loan.
Can you imagine that, viewers? This was public morality in the 60s.
It was Lal Bahadur Shastri morality. I would not say it the same with all Congress people.
It's not public morality. It is the kind of person that he was.
And then Ramnathji said, I will give you that money. Whenever you can, you give it to me. Ramnathji used to say that when he told Ramnathji this, Ramnathji cried. Because Lal Bahadur Shastri had 9 children. And all children were married in the house in which he was staying. Behind, there was a tree. Under the tree only the children got married. He didn't even invite people. He didn't have the money. That was the man.
Wow. This anecdote tells us about the Prime Minister this country had, who we know very little about, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who died mysteriously. And had he not died, Indira Gandhi would never have come up, because the moment he died, the power struggle happened. And in that power struggle also, there were different factions, ladies and gentlemen. There was Gulzari Lal Nanda became the Prime Minister. There was a person called Gulzari Lal Nanda, by the way, in history books, the shortest serving Prime Minister of India. Then there was the Morarji Desai factor. He was a very powerful leader. He was finance minister in Nehru's government. And then there was Kamraj, what is called the syndicate, led by famous Atulya Ghosh. And Kamraj was like Kamraj, they say, was like a person who held all the clout. So there was Kamraj on the one side and there was Morarji Desai on the other. And then there was a syndicate fighting with Morarji Desai, and in the middle of that comes up Indira Gandhi. What is your recollection of that period? Because if we have to understand the emergency, to understand the politics of the 70s, we must understand the politics of the 60s. What was the Congress like from 65 to 70 in that period between all these different groups? Can you explain it to a lay audience?
Actually, at that time there was very little information available in the public domain, except the fact that Indira Gandhi became shockingly the Prime Minister.
Shockingly.
Nobody expected it. And Morarji Desai was made to accept Deputy Prime Ministership under her. Because they all felt...
Deputy?
Deputy Prime Minister. So, everybody thought that the Congress has to be united. If the Congress has to be united, then we will have to make compromises. But I will tell you a personal anecdote. When Lal Bahadur Shastri had died, that morning at 3 o'clock, Kamraj called Goenka and told him, Goenka, I have to go to Delhi, you have to arrange an aircraft for me. So Ramnath Goenka arranged a small aircraft which the Hindu paper had and Goenka also went in the aircraft with Kamraj. And Kamraj was breathing so heavily, he was so restless, as if a death had taken place in his own house. So for 15-20 minutes, Goenka waited and asked him, Kamraj, what do you feel? I don't know. Unume purilappa. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Then he said, Kamraj, why don't you become? Kamraj said, no. I don't know English. I don't know Hindi. You know, to be a prime minister, you need more qualities. You must know global situation, global relationship. I am not fit for that. See, he was the tallest and the strongest man of the Congress. If he wanted to become prime minister, nobody would have said no. He would have been the most appropriate person also, considering his overall leadership qualities. Then he said, what do you think of Morarji Bhai? He said, he is a little odd person. That was his comment in Tamil. Then he said, what are you going to do? He said, I have got to consult people. You know, I cannot take a view on my own only. I have to consult everybody. See, the strongest man in the Congress, the most trusted man, the cleanest man, talking like this. And of course, they all went and finally thought, you know, Indira Gandhi is a gungi gudiya and she will listen to whatever they were saying, and they got into a huge mess. Then Goenka told me that Indira Gandhi was a little happy with him because he brought Kamraj in the flight, and she felt that maybe he had a role in Kamraj finally shaping the opinion in her favor, and so she was very comfortable with him. But in 1969, when she broke the Congress party, Goenka went and met her. He said, don't do it. Because today, Congress and the country are one. We are seeing all vociferous tendencies and dividers developing in different parts of the country. Congress has to remain united. And don't break it. Then it seems she asked, Mr. Goenka, are you my friend or my enemy? Goenka stood up and said, the choice is yours. That is how the battle started between Indian Express and...
So if I can just pause you at this minute. Viewers, if you listen to this part, you can wind back and listen here. You're hearing about Indira Gandhi coming up. Indira Gandhi was very ambitious. She always felt she was the person who had a global exposure. She spoke English well, she was foreign educated, she had the right image. And there were other rooted leaders who had less confidence. And Kamraj, who was very powerful, led the syndicate, felt ill-equipped to lead the country. He thought a foreign educated global exposure, Indira Gandhi could have done more. It is also argued that he felt maybe he could control and be the power behind the throne, as it were. And as you are listening to this, please remember that was a different India. Today, non-English speaking, rooted politicians from humble backgrounds are becoming prime ministers, presidents of our country. So it's a change of times. You don't need to be anglicized to be a leader in our country. But in this period, a small portion we missed, which I'm going to ask Mr. Gurumurthy about. Mr. Gurumurthy, we are now seeing the imminent collapse of the Congress, generally believed. But something happened in 1967. In the 1967 election, that was the first election in which the Congress lost a lot of seats. They went down from 361 in 1962 to only 283 seats. Their vote share fell by 7%. The Naxal movement was picking up in Bengal with Charu Majumdar, and a lot of the people in Indira's cabinet lost the elections. Even Kamraj lost, S.K. Patil lost, Atulya Ghosh lost in Bengal. I want to ask you, sir, was India getting disillusioned with the Congress party by 1967? Why did that happen? Because present day, we don't have, many people don't remember something almost 60 years back. Was something changing? Was the country changing? Were expectations rising? Why did the Congress appear to be beginning to go down in 67?
You see, actually, as I told you, the Congress lost its roots. And because there was no competition, local or national, the Congress was winning the elections.
There was no opposition. There was no alternative national formation.
Yes. But the Congress was neither fish, flesh nor fowl.
Okay.
It had no identity. So others were developing their identities. The socialists were developing their identities. Jansang was developing its identities. Regional parties were developing its identities. And the Congress dissenters had formed the Swatantra Party.
Yes.
So these are all the factors, because after all, those who formed the Swatantra Party were also the Congress people. So the Congress at the grassroots level began to split away from the Congress. That was the reason for the defeat in 1967. But once the Congress moved away from the nationalist orientation, it could not come back to that orientation. So Mrs. Gandhi shifted the whole thing to economic ideology. That is why she wrote that famous letter which broke the Congress. That letter to the syndicate, her random thoughts. And that is where she wanted bank nationalized and things like that. That was the starting point of the breakup of the
She wanted to present herself as a
socialist.
What was her intent there? Was she true to that spirit, or was she acting?
I think she was advised.
She was advised to become a socialist.
Yes.
To pretend to be a socialist or be a
Because
socialist?
at that time socialism was becoming a very important all over the world with the rise of Russia, Soviet Union. So there was a certain aura about socialism. The Congress had adopted socialism but didn't pursue it very much. In 1958, in 57 in Avadi, they adopted socialism as the creed of the Congress. But like Congress always celebrates an idea but doesn't really go deep into it. Yeah. But Mrs. Gandhi thought this is the way to fix these elder leaders.
To fix them.
There was absolutely no doubt that 6-page letter which she wrote, which caused the breakup of the Congress. And on that basis, she took the support of the left, she took the support of the DMK, she took the support of even the Socialist Party. Between 1969 and 71, she began doing this bank nationalization, then the Privy Purse abolition, to show that she is anti-rich, anti-capital, and so she became some kind of an icon for socialism. And many youths began to come back to the Congress, which is a fact.
So viewers, at this moment, just to understand what Mr. Gurumurthy is saying, socialism, what we call leftist views, left of center views, what appear to be pro-people views, are not always ideologically driven, is the lesson which I am learning from Mr. Gurumurthy. Often they are political strategies. When Indira Gandhi felt that she was under attack for more powerful people who had formed this Swatantra Party, she needed to survive. So she started saying Garibi Hatao. She started saying abolish the privy purses of the princes, nationalize 14 banks, put income tax, put wealth tax, pauperize the princes. Obviously these ideas were very popular. Who in India would not want to hear a leader who would say, I'm going to take on the princes, I'm going to give power back to the people. But was it power to the people is my next question. Was it really power to the people? She achieved her objectives. She broke the Congress. She positioned herself as a popular leader, and then came Congress I, which was called Congress Indira. Am I right in reading it up to this
Congress
point?
O and Congress
So somewhere I'm seeing that in the present also. I go back and forth. That even now, this whole pretense of socialism, the pretense of leftist, pretense of pro-people, what sometimes Rahul Gandhi starts saying Ambani, Adani, Do you find a similar strategy there? Are they comparable at all, that at a moment of political crisis internally, you try and position yourself as the redeemer of the poor?
No, this is only one aspect of Rahul Gandhi. But the other aspects of Rahul Gandhi, virtually taking the position which Muslim League took in 1930s.
That Indira Gandhi didn't do.
She didn't do. And to break the Hindu society into this and that, she didn't do. She didn't talk about OBC, she didn't talk about scheduled caste.
She just said Garibi Hatao.
Garibi Hatao. Her approach was economic ideology. But it is not that made her win. That made her popular. But what made her win was that she was able to paint others as supporters of capitalism, supporters of America, because people like us were branded as CIA agents at that time.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yes.
This is a story.
CIA.
Okay, so now comes the story. Ladies and gentlemen, incredible. One of the greatest people in our country, biggest nationalist, has been called a CIA agent.
Yes.
Tell us
In
about
those
it,
days,
Mr. Gurumurthy.
Anybody.
You must have been very young, like you must have been in
Yeah, I
your
was a
20s.
chartered accountant. I was rising, and I was, of course, in my own way, I had my influence. But at the local level, Congress people would call me CIA agent, because at the national level, even Kamaraj was called a CIA agent. Morarji Desai was called a CIA agent.
I remember Morarji Desai was called this.
The entire BJP, RSS were classified as CIA agents. So,
Did she go after her? Did she go after those who she saw as a potential threat?
Ramnath Goenka.
That will come to later.
Yeah.
That will come to later.
Because he was probably the one man who gave the sinews to the entire anti-Congress movement at that time, right from 1969. He decided that this lady will turn out to be a dictator. He was the first man to realize. And so Goenka was, because he had a very powerful newspaper, all other newspapers succumbed to Mrs. Gandhi. It is only he. So a newspaper played a critical role in keeping the opposition together, and he was a great socializer with the opposition people. And even the socialists turned against Mrs. Gandhi in 1971 elections, and the syndicate was formed. And once she defeated the syndicate, she deserted all the communists, DMK, everybody. All the people who supported her between 1967 and 1971, she began discarding one by one by one. She made only one concession. She gave to the CPI, many people came and joined the Congress from the CPI, Mohan Kumar Mangalam and people like that. She gave them one big project, the JNU.
I'll come to that.
So she gave them what they wanted. But after she won the Bangladesh war, she did not need anybody.
So is it true that, now let us come to the Bangladesh war to 1971. Mr. Gurumurthy, she did extremely well in terms of the military response, and when Pakistan Army launched Operation Searchlight, which was, the massacre of Bengali intellectuals, students, civilians, Mukti Wahini started, 1 crore refugees came into Bengal, Assam, Tripura. She went and she helped Bangladesh get independence. The map of the subcontinent was redrawn, and a new geopolitical map emerged with the emergence of Bangladesh as a sovereign nation. Now, while I feel she did very well in terms of the military response and speed of decision making, did she become a dictator? Did the potential of her as a dictator begin to show in the aftermath of 1971? Because she started, she formed Congress R. She had, if you look back into history, you would see that she has imposed president's rule in several states. She imposed president's rule in Gujarat. I think, if I am not mistaken, she imposed president's rule in even Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, at that later?
It all much later.
Much
See,
later,
the
but,
starting
but there
point-
were about 15 states in the country which operated under central administration through the governors. So, did Indira Gandhi turn into a dictator before the imposition of emergency between 71 and 75? What are your recollections of that period and reading of the political mood at the time?
In the early 1970s, after she won, even before she won, she began talking about the socialists and the CIA agents, American supporters. So she was dividing the nation into two. All the nationalists were classified as anti-nationals. This happened even before the 1971 election. Okay. Once she won the 1971 election and got 2/3 majority.
After the war?
The first thing she did was to amend the constitution, 24th and 25th amendment to the constitution, correct, which was advised by Mohan Kumar Mangalam.
Okay, tell us about Mohan Kumara Mangalam for people who don't know. Tell us about him.
Mohan Kumara Mangalam was the person who drafted the partition resolution of Jinnah. You can Google and get this information. Communists and Muslim League were one. And they found that in the Muslim League, there is more merit than in the Congress. So he had that orientation. This anti-national orientation was very much in the communist movement. And they were even very hesitant about participating in democracy. They carried on a long debate. And those who wanted to participate in democracy, they contested elections and others became militants. Correct. That is how this division took place in Andhra, in what is known as Telangana now. In all the Madhya Pradesh and other areas, the Naxalite movement developed later. Afterwards, the Naxalite movement as an ideological movement developed in Bengal. But before that, as an anarchic movement, it was always there in Andhra and other places who did not accept the communist line. Now, once Mrs. Gandhi took this line, she began to get the communists into the Congress and sideline the communist party itself. By the time the emergency came, she had marginalized the communist party. In fact, they put so much faith in her, she discarded them. She had taken, but there were some very good advisors, P.N. Huxer and others, very good advisors. And so the best advice Mrs. Gandhi got to deal with both the public narrative, the Bangladesh, and they were the ones who got the Indo-Asian Defense Pact, which was the only reason how we could win the Bangladesh war, divide. So Russia and India worked together and it was in India's interest at that time. But what went to her head was the popularity and power. She thought she was invincible. And she amended the constitution. And afterwards that constitution went for a test in the Supreme Court. In the Keshavananda Bharati case, they overruled the amendment. And the day the judges overruled the amendment, 3 of them she superseded. The first major attack on the judiciary. And the 4th person was, A.N. Ray was made the Chief Justice. All this, then she began talking about committed judiciary, committed bureaucracy, committed press. All committed to what? Committed to socialism. That is herself. By that time,
committed to her.
Committed to the ruling government, committed to the ruling party, which means her. Because she had become, after 1971, the unchallenged power in the Congress.
Unchallenged.
Yes. So, this is where the Bihar movement developed. Because all the corrupt people began to work under her umbrella. And Congress had become a corrupt party. That is where the students began agitating in in Bihar. And Jayaprakash Narayan led that movement. That is where I became more and more aware of what was happening at that level within the Congress, outside, and what a national movement can be.
What was the RSS at that time? You write in your recollections, the experiences bestowed by Kanchi Mahaswami, part 15, Violence or Satyagraha. You say, since 1970, Indira Gandhi was conducting massive campaigns against the RSS. We thought then that the organization must be a good one. We had participated in one of the meetings of Narayana Rao, Jan Sangh leader, and inquired about RSS. He replied how RSS helps in the character building of youth and imbibe with noble qualities like patriotism, body strength, mental stamina. Hence we were attracted by the RSS and went to his office. That is how my relationship with the RSS blossomed. And before I come to the emergency, I want to just ask you, I'm finding a contradiction here. Someone who was so deeply with the Congress or supportive of the Congress's nationalism gets disillusioned with it and later comes under the influence of the RSS. What was the RSS in 1971-72? What was your first association with the RSS, if you can share more about that?
You see, I did not find any contradiction between my participation in the Congress and in the RSS, because Congress was the only nationalist party in Tamil Nadu.
This will be so difficult for people to relate to now.
It is at that time, because Congress was the only nationalist. All nationalists were under the umbrella of Congress in Tamil Nadu. So I was in the nationalist umbrella of the Congress. At the same time, I found RSS an important ingredient of nationalism. So there were many who were like that. The hatred that Mrs. Gandhi was generating against the RSS was not being shared by all congressmen. In fact, every congressman with whom I moved in Tamil Nadu knew I was an RSS man. I had no problem. I could move with Kamraj. I could go and meet him. My professor who introduced me to the Congress and made my bond with the Congress deep, and even with Kamaraj, people like C. Subramaniam, Ramaya, who was the president of the Congress, at a very young age I could move with all these people, and every one of them knew I was an RSS man. So far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, I don't know about...
It's not only Tamil Nadu. You're not the only one. There are several people who did not find a contradiction between being RSS members and being with the Congress in the 60s. Which is why, when one hears Rahul Gandhi abuse, attack and call the RSS a fascist organization now, he is unaware of the fact that his Congress, the extreme left Congress, which represents the interests of the Muslim radicals today very effectively, is not the Congress that existed in his great-grandfather's time.
Of course, Rahul doesn't know many
He doesn't know,
he doesn't
know
many
much history.
things, and so he will not know this also.
Now let me ask you about the emergency. Mr. Gurumurthy, the immediate legal trigger for the emergency declared on June 25th, 1975 was the landmark verdict of the Allahabad High Court delivered on June 12th, 1975 by Justice Jagmohan Sinha. The unanimous verdict found Indira Gandhi guilty of electoral malpractices for her 1971 Raebareli election. Now, the case was brought by the person who lost to her, Raj Narayan, who said that her election agent was actually working for the government and his presence vitiated the level playing field for political campaigning, and then she was disqualified for holding elected office for 6 years. Mr. Gurumurthy, a serving Prime Minister at that time was told that you cannot be a member of Parliament. And then she had no option but to quit constitutionally, and that's when she responded. We can go into that. Do you believe that a group came together against Indira Gandhi for her growing authoritarian tendencies? Or do you believe this was purely by legal process? Or do you believe it was a response to what many felt was her anyway growing authoritarianism between 71 to 75? There was a group which felt that now she must be stopped. Or do you believe this was really only a legal process which was the trigger?
See, I am 100% sure that so far as the Allahabad High Court judgment is concerned, it is a legal process.
It's a legal process.
But what triggered the emergency is the Bihar movement, which had become a massive movement.
What was the Bihar movement?
Bihar movement was a movement started by students against the then Bihar chief minister, who was corrupt. But Mrs. Gandhi has a tendency, once she identifies herself with a person, if that person is attacked and she has to remove him, then she feels that it is actually an attack on her and her stature is coming down. That is, I think his name was Gafur. And the same thing happened with Antule also. So, it is her personality that if you attack my man, it is an attack on me. And that is how the Bihar movement welled up into a huge movement. And at that time, that railway minister was also killed. I forget his name. Yes. And that became a huge thing because that assassination was somewhat linked to the Prime Minister's office. In the CBI investigation, when it was coming out, dissent was sent to turn the investigation. Arun Shourie had extensively reported on this. And then the actors were changed to fix the Ananda Margis in that, many wrong things were happening at that time. So when JP decided to lead the Bihar movement, that completely shook Mrs. Gandhi. I knew how it happened at that time. If you want, I can relate I was the audit manager of the Indian Express in 1974. When I was in the Indian Express guest house staying there for their audit, and then the guest house keeper came and told me, see, all these big people are coming. I will remove your baggage and keep it outside. Maybe they will be here for 3-4 hours. Afterwards, they will go. Then you can come and be in the guest house. So my baggage was kept outside and I was in the veranda. Then all these great people came. Jayaprakash Narayan, Achyut Patwardhan, Nanaji Deshmukh, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar and Goenka, all the 5 people came. They were persuading Jayaprakash Narayan to lead the Bihar movement. This was, I think, December 1974. JP was he said, my health is not good, my prostrate issues are there, I get up 10 times a night to go to the toilet. And if I start the movement and if I die and it becomes anarchic, it will be bad for the country. At that time, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar was the one who was telling him, I know more about Mrs. Gandhi than any of you. He was very, very close to the Nehru family. He was the Rashtra Kavi appointed by Pandit Nehru. Pandit Nehru had a lot of love for him. And Mrs. Gandhi also had a lot of intimacy with him. So he said, she is a dictator. And if she is not stopped, it will be great harm to the country. I am saying this because of my personal knowledge of her. I was in the hearing distance. So then everybody was pressurizing him and Ramnathji said, I will have you treated in Vellore hospital, you don't worry, you will be spick and span, you will be 20 years younger, the way Ramnathji generally encourages a person. They all could not decide. And then Goenka said, let all of us go to Tirupati. Then these gentlemen went to Tirupati. I didn't know what happened afterwards. Months later, I became the advisor of Ramnath Goenka. Then Ramnathji told me that when they went to Tirupati, in Tirupati, Ramdhari Singh Dinkar prayed to Balaji, give the remaining years of my life to Jayaprakash Narayan. And then all of them came to the Chennai house of Goenka. And Ramdhari Singh Dinkar died on the lap of Jayaprakash Narayan. Completely shook everybody. And probably JP took it as divine will. And then only he agreed to lead the Bihar movement. And the first he announced, he was in, I think in February he went to Gujarat. And there he announced he will lead the Bihar movement. That is how Bihar movement became so popular. And there was an attempt to kill Jayaprakash Narayan, where Nanaji Deshmukh took the blow on his hand and his hand was broken. JP survived. All this was welling up. Police, Bihar police. I mean, Bihar police means, who could be, at what level it was decided that JP should be attacked. All this came in the newspapers and it became a huge issue in the country because Jayaprakash Narayan was probably the cleanest and the noblest personality at that time. And it was welling up. Now I am going to read to you what on December 31, 1974. December 31, 1974. Okay. The joint secretary in the PMO was Tandon, PD Tandon. Correct. He writes, I am filled with foreboding. A crisis is building up. The main cause of the crisis is the PM. She is completely lacking in tolerance. She is not at all interested in the values which her father had done so much to foster. Nor is she deeply acquainted with the constitutional framework of our country. The next three sentences are important. She will not relinquish power, regardless of what happens. In brief, the PM is only concerned with her power and rule. Such persons tend rapidly towards fascism. They have no reservations about becoming dictators. This was his record.
She wanted to become a dictator. She aspired to become a dictator.
She was always, that dictatorial tendency
was there.
That is what Ramdar Dinkar told.
Yeah. So she saw herself as a person who ruled by force rather than through elections. And I think I agree with that because I want to ask you a next follow-up question. We were talking about the case which led to the trigger for the emergency, which is the Allahabad High Court verdict, which disqualified her as a member of parliament. Now, it said you can't be elected member of parliament for 6 years. She would have to leave as prime minister. But on June 24th, 12 days after the original verdict, the Supreme Court gave a partial stay. The Supreme Court said, Indira Gandhi, you can remain prime minister, but your rights as an MP are restricted. You cannot attend parliament, you cannot get a salary as an MP, but you can remain prime minister. So her prime ministership was secured. My question to you is, this aspect people don't know, that the Supreme Court had given her a little bit of a leeway to her. If she could continue to be prime minister, then why did she, one day after the Supreme Court gave her a stay, allowing her to remain prime minister, why did she invoke 352 of the constitution to declare the emergency, suspending, becoming a complete dictator of India? Because there must have been something else going on in her mind. Either she was very insecure or worried, or she had what you are saying, that incipient dictatorial tendency. Now that you look back in hindsight, 50 years later, what do you think?
There are three reasons.
Sir.
When the Supreme Court gave a stay, which was so humiliating.
Humiliating.
That she cannot talk in the parliament.
But she would remain prime minister.
She cannot talk in the parliament. That the prime minister who cannot talk in the parliament, what is she? This is one. Number two, he cannot vote in the parliament. 3, she cannot draw salaries, and except that you are statistically a member of parliament, you are nobody.
But she would remain prime minister.
This is an invitation for a revolt in the Congress.
Invitation to a revolt.
Revolt in the Congress. Considering the huge amount of anti-establishment wave which has been built by the JP movement. On the 25th, there was a huge rally demanding her resignation, addressed by Jayaprakash Narayan in Delhi.
And these were Organic rallies.
Organic.
People just turned up.
Absolutely.
They were not paid to
You see,
be brought. I want to
tell
show
you,
those
till
visuals
19
and talk about.
To my knowledge, till 1971 elections, 1967 elections, money never played a constitutive role in elections. Mrs. Gandhi gave an interview. I don't know. We must have to Google and get it. To an Yugoslavian journalist, if I remember right. I will make fighting elections so costly that the opposition will not be able to fight election at all.
She said so publicly.
Yes.
That shows how anti-democratic she was.
No, that means, see, she accumulated.
This was a socialist person pretending to be a socialist who said that.
There is no socialism.
There is no socialism. I'm saying this is proof. This was pure pretense.
No, this, we have to get this because it was discussed very, very intensely by political parties and others. Some of her pronouncements are intensely anti-national, intensely anti-democracy, intensely anti-judiciary also. I mean, I will break from the sequence and go to, after she came back in 1980, the media asked her a question, particularly after Antule and things like that. There is so much of corruption, Mrs. Gandhi. No, corruption is a global phenomenon. So a judge of the Delhi High Court quoted those two sentences. If the Prime Minister of the country says corruption is a global phenomenon and rationalizes it, who can save this country from corruption? This is a recorded part of the judgment of the Delhi High Court. So she knew no end of herself when the power went to her head. So coming back to the first is, it is a revolt, it is a call for revolt against the Congress, because the Congress still had people like Jagjeevan Ram and all that, who were very, in their own way, very popular people. And Mrs. Gandhi was afraid of only one man in the Congress. He was Jagjeevan Ram. And he was the one who trounced her also after the 1977 elections. The second thing is a huge amount of public anger, which is likely to spill into the streets.
She was scared of it.
She was scared of it. And she thought the best thing is, I don't think she believed in peaceful management of the country. She felt, this politics is anarchic. It has to be controlled with an iron hand. I think that was always in her mind. And so all this put together, she was searching for a way out. In fact, emergency was already there. Why she had to declare one more emergency? So 1967 war, she could have done everything. But she wanted to declare an emergency, saying that there is an internal rebellion to overthrow the government. And to tell the system, the administration, that she is imposing emergency. Emergency didn't happen immediately except in Delhi. In Delhi only the emergency became instant because they closed down the media, stopped the electricity, and the Delhi people did not even know what happened. All the opposition leaders were arrested. Delhi people do not know. People outside may have known. In those days the communication was very poor. It was only through STD calls you can tell people. So for 2 days the Delhi public did not know there was an emergency. So she began to take over the administration in those 2, 3, 4 days. And then in a paper I have traced how it happened, how she began to take over the country. In just 3 months, the emergency cabal began administering the country. In the first month, the media was completely gagged.
Yes.
And in the second month, the entire administration was brought under the control. Correct. In the third month, the emergency gang took over. In the 6th month, she subordinated the judiciary. I will tell you what happened with the judiciary. In the case which 13 high courts had decided, that a person's right to life cannot be suspended during the emergency. This is ADM Jabalpur case that came to the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, the question that was primarily asked, what was being argued was, does a person, you may lose all your rights, but do you also lose your right to life? That was the question. But no judge had the guts to ask this question except one judge. I am going to read out to you what exactly happened in the court. So, the Attorney General was arguing this case that when the sovereign, which has given the rights to the people, resumes the right back, there is nothing which is available with the people, and during the reign of the emergency, anything can happen, no fundamental rights to anyone. So, Justice Khanna asked him one question. If during the emergency, H.R. Khanna on 16th December 1976, that is where emergency becomes deeper and deeper, and with this argument in the court, the emergency becomes complete. H.R. Khanna asked him, if during the emergency, a police officer, because of personal enmity, killed another man, will there be no judicial remedy? Pat came the reply from Attorney General. This reply could never have been given by him unless it was authorized by the political system. It may shock your conscience. It shocks mine. But no proceedings can be taken in a court of law on that score. Consistent with my earlier submission that there would be no judicial remedy in such a case so long as emergency exists, that a person can be killed.
So basically officially sanctioned assassinations and killings would have been allowed?
It was.
This is the kind of widespread judicial powers that an Asif Munir would be giving himself today in Pakistan, with lack of judicial scrutiny over his decisions. So it was equivalent to the kind of Pakistani military dictatorship that Indira Gandhi wanted to impose and had imposed in the country.
See, that was the time I started studying the Constitution of India. In fact, I got such intense interest in the Constitution of India that opened my eyes to the entire idea of democracy, how other laws, in fact, my foray into the field of law was because of emergency under the Constitution. I'll tell you, I'll just quote 2 or 3 sentences from how the other judges saw this case.
In fact, none of these constitutional amendments during the emergency which weakened judicial review and checks and balances were ever really questioned in the court. All of these powers were being increased. There were constitution amendments. The term of Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies was increased to 6 years from 5 years. The courts were barred from questioning the president's decision, that is Indira Gandhi's decision to declare the emergency, and there was forced sterilization going on. So while Mr. Gurumurthy moves on to the next subject, let me tell you viewers, at that point of time, Sanjay Gandhi, Indira Gandhi's son, would drag people out of their homes and carry out sterilization. Men were being sterilized. A total of 2.6 million sterilization procedures were carried out in 75-76 alone. In 77-78, 8.1 million men in India were forcibly sterilized. So if you look at it, more than 1 crore Indian men were forcibly sterilized. This is worse than the Nazi record. This is worse than Hitler's record. And I'm saying this so that everybody who is today a Congress supporter should remember and ask Rahul Gandhi what he thinks about this. They will never accept it. They try to put Indira Gandhi as a paragon on democracy. I personally believe she was one of the worst living dictators this country has ever seen. You were saying...
I'll tell you what the Supreme Court, except Justice Khanna. See, the Supreme Court letting down the country and the people and the Constitution will have to be remembered to show how the Supreme Court is now behaving. The Justice M.H. Begg went as far as to eulogize the government for keeping the detainees comfortable in jail. We understand that the care and the concern bestowed by state authorities upon the welfare of the detainees, who are all well housed, well fed and well treated, is almost maternal.
He actually said this in a judgment.
This was in the same judgment.
Why were judges talking like this? So
Fear.
What did they have to gain
Fear.
from Indira Gandhi? Fear of Indira Gandhi.
Fear. Ultimately, it is not constitution which protects the constitutional provisions which protect the constitution. It is the courage of the judges. It is only one man. And see what Chandrachud says. People who have faith in themselves and the country would not paint the pictures of diabolic distortion and mendacious malignment of the government of the country. Y.V. Chandrachud. Council after council expressed the fear that during the emergency the executive may whip and strip and starve the detainee, and if this be our judgment, even shoot him down. Such misdeeds have not tarnished the record of free India, and I have a diamond heart, diamond bright hope that such things would never come to pass.
This is D.Y. Chandrachud's father. He was a supporter of the emergency. So Justice D.Y. Chandrachud's father was a great fan of Indira Gandhi and a supporter of the emergency. That's why D.Y. Chandrachud, it is often said, has always felt a need to present himself as a great democratic liberal to make up for his father's tarnished record. Would it be fair to say that? See, his father was a great emergency.
Obviously, he is a different man. Chandrachud, the son Chandrachud is a different man.
But his father was a supporter of...
Obviously. Now...
Terrible.
This is after emergency. On 24th May, the government did kill. A year later, after this argument is made in the Supreme Court, a year later on 24th May 1977, the Times of India reported, the Calicut regional engineering student P. Rajan died while in lawful custody at so-and-so police station on March 2nd, 1976. They are making this argument on 16th December 76 that the government has the right to kill. On March 16th, 1976, this killing takes place. The report added that affidavits including by the former Chief Minister Karunakaran before the Kerala High Court admitted this killing by the state. Precisely, the cabal's attorney told the Supreme Court that the government could kill legally, and the cabal-led government did kill.
And government authorized killing was seen to be valid.
Valid, because the Supreme Court validated
the submitted arguments of the Attorney General of Indira Gandhi.
See, the most important point in the emergency discourse which is missed is none of these things.
Which is what?
That it is a barbaric rule for 18 months. This is how emergency discourse limits the emergency. But the most important point is the amendment of the Constitution by the 42nd Amendment during the emergency, which converted India into a single party dynastic rule. I am going to say how. This was by amending Article 32 of the Constitution of India.
Reducing fundamental rights?
No.
Reducing the primacy of fundamental...
No. This is far, far beyond.
Curtailing the power of the Supreme Court?
32D is for banning unlawful organizations. The unlawful organization definition included political parties. And if a party were to organize strike, for example, George Fernandez organized a railway strike.
You were a great supporter of George Fernandez.
He organized the railway strike before the emergency. If under amended Article 32D of the Constitution of India, if that amendment had held good and Mrs. Gandhi had returned to power, George Fernandez organizing a strike would mean his organization, his party could be banned. If anyone who talks for creating communal disturbances, that party can be banned. That Janata could be banned. If one party is talking about a language or region, it could be banned. That means you can ban all the political parties.
So you were a supporter of George Fernandez at that point of time, but you were also a critic later. You have said in your and we must remember viewers, that many of you have probably not known of George Fernandez. He was an incredible person. He was a great speaker, and he was a great union leader.
Indefatigable worker.
Indefatigable union leader. I, of course, got to know him only in his many advanced years. But the RSS did not like him. The RSS did not like his strategy. But you have always said, and I want you to talk about George Fernandez, you've always said the man had sharp intellect, unlimited bravery, continuous hard work and honesty. But you also said he became emotional very quickly. And if he had avoided some of the blunders, he could have been the Prime Minister of India. I don't know what would have happened to me if I had continued my contact with George Fernandez's group. And you went on to say there is no doubt that George Fernandez was a daring one, but he was not able to generate revolutionaries. Even revolutionary communists could not bring in revolution for the last 40 to 50 years. Tell us about George Fernandez. Who is George Fernandez? What was he trying to do? What was his ideological association? And what did the RSS think of him? These were a group of people who were obviously frustrated with the emergency, with Indira Gandhi, and they were trying to fight. Were they underground? Were they avoiding arrest? Were they in jail? What was going on then, sir?
You see, you have to go a little back in history when the Samyukta Socialist Party was formed by the socialists. And Ram Manohar Lohia was the principal driving force. He was the socialist chief. And he was totally opposed to the Gandhi-Nehru family. So he created a set of socialists who were at any cost opposed this family. And George Fernandez came in that tradition. And when she imposed emergency, George Fernandez thought that he could create a revolution in the country.
Against him.
In fact, it was at that time I met George Fernandez, because the RSS told me, George Fernandez had called a meeting. There was a manager of Mathrubhumi newspaper in Chennai, in whose house 3 meetings were held. So when I went and participated in that meeting, nobody knew, there were 20-30 people, nobody knew anybody, and they began talking about how to make bombs and things. We were surprised that we did not know anybody who were present, and they did not know who we were. And then we came and told the RSS leaders, he said, don't speak in that meeting, just keep observing what is happening. Then George came to that meeting. He also began talking like that. Nobody got anybody introduced, and it was not a team, it was a crowd. Then we thought, no, this kind of a revolutionary approach will get exposed very soon. And that is what happened. But undoubtedly, he was a very, very courageous fighter against the emergency. There is no doubt about it. But he was an individual. He didn't have an organization. RSS had an organization. The RSS could face...
Why could George Fernandez and RSS not come together against a common enemy, which was Indira Gandhi, the authoritarian Indira Gandhi?
You see, in 1971, all of them came together as the Grand Alliance. But the socialists were always in split mind, because they liked the socialist policies of Indira Gandhi also. So they were confused. Now I will come to this 42nd amendment, when Rahul Gandhi is holding the constitution.
Yeah, he goes around.
Which constitution he is holding? He must be asked to hold the constitution which was amended and passed by Mrs. Gandhi on the 2nd of January. This constitution was approved, And on the 19th, she declared the elections, because if she won the elections, she could ban all the political parties and make Congress the only party, which means the family as the only ruler of the country. So he must be told. I don't know why the BJP is not doing it. Print 1,000 copies of that constitution, which existed on 2nd January 1976, and give it to all the Congress people and say, you hold this constitution. Why are you holding that constitution of Ambedkar, which was completely amended by Indira Gandhi? Which constitution are you going to protect? This could have been the most telling political response to Rahul Gandhi holding the constitution. I don't know why the BJP is not doing it.
So my question is that why did Indira Gandhi announce elections? You just said earlier that she had authoritarian tendencies. She wanted to be sort of dictator for life. Her son had turned into a terrible, terrible monster, sort of sterilizing people, making his own money, having a parallel government. But she suddenly dissolved the parliament after bringing in the 42nd Amendment in 1976, and then she announces the election in March 1977. If she was a dictator, why did she announce the election? Did she think she would win? How could she think she could win after she had terrorized the people of India? What was her gambit?
Very simple. There was no opposition worth the name. There were 4 political parties, all splintered, and none of them have...
Jayaprakash Narayan?
No, Jayaprakash Narayan was apolitical. No, he was leading a movement.
Bharatiya Janata, Lok Dal, Charan Singh was there.
BLD was there, socialists were there.
Jan Sangh was there.
Jan Sangh was there.
But they were not united.
Congress were there. All 4 are 4 different parties, and they are all in jail. I'll tell you what happened. On the 19th, Advaniji was released. And on the 20th, we all met him in Madras railway station. He had come from Bangalore and he was to go to Delhi. And we had a small meeting. When I tell you what Advani told at that time.
Where was this meeting?
This was in Chennai, and we had gone to a nearby place in one of the houses, and where we had a discussion. So we asked Advaniji, what are we going to do? He said, I am confused.
Okay.
You see, if we don't contest the elections, she will say you can't even contest the elections. If we contest the elections and lose, she will say emergency has been validated by the people. So I really do not know what should be our response. This was the state of the president of the BJP. But what really happened, what Mrs. Gandhi miscalculated, was the underground movement had reached the people like fire.
Okay.
And since she had completely shut down the newspapers, she got only what she wanted to read, the newspapers were printing. So the underground movement and the feelings that had welled up against her, she was not aware. She thought that she has quelled the opposition, there is no opposition worth the name. And even if they form an alliance, she will be able to sweep because the alliance cannot project a prime minister. Normal political calculations made her do it. But the clincher was, all the political 4 parties decided to dissolve themselves and form one party.
You were then in the Indian Express?
I was working very closely with this.
With this whole experiment of putting the whole thing together, sir?
No, I was not in the...
But you were watching from the sideline.
I knew what
role did Ramnath Goenka have in this?
He, Jayaprakash Narayan and Kripalani were the ones who said that there must be only one party. Dissolve all parties. Then the Jan Sangh came forward to dissolve the party. Morarji Desai came to dissolve the party.
Did Ramnath Goenka have a role? You have said that 2 able men were helping JP. One was Nanaji Deshmukh, who was in prison. The other was Ramnath Goenka. Both Nanaji and Goenka were very close to each other. Goenka narrated the then proceedings. He said, Guru, without the blessings of God and the efforts of myself, Nanaji and RSS, this move would not have materialized in 24 hours. The democracy would have perished.
Correct.
There were many who had wanted to boycott elections and imprison. George Fernandez was also of the same opinion. But then the Janata Party was formed, and the Janata Party included Jan Sangh, which was backed by RSS. And then Babu Jagjivan Ram also left the Congress and joined the Janata Party, creating a perception of unity in the opposition. So this is not something that Indira Gandhi had planned, which means Ramnath Goenka played a great role along with Nanaji Deshmukh and the others in politically checkmating
Absolutely.
Indira Gandhi. Ramnath Goenka was then the owner and proprietor of the Indian Express. Can I ask you a question here, sir? Now here's a question, sir. Was it appropriate for a media house and the owner of a media house to play a central role in the political game?
See, you have to go back in history as to how Ramnath Goenka became a media baron. He was asked to start a newspaper by Mahatma Gandhi to support the freedom movement. You know, 3 newspapers were started actually to support the freedom movement. One was the Hindu, second was the Hindustan Times, the third was the Indian Express. And Ramnath Goenka was the only activist media baron. He was a Congress party worker also. And in 1942, when the Quit India movement was on, and all the leaders were arrested, and the media was asked to submit itself to the government regulations, Mahatma Gandhi asked the media to close down. Ramnath Goenka closed down and got elected as the Suspended Newspapers Editors Conference. So he was intensely associated with the process, and he was one of the Constituent Assembly members. And then he contested election in 1952 on behalf of the Congress party in Tamil Nadu. Of course, he lost. And in 1971, because Mr. Gandhi began harassing him and persecuting him, he contested election on the Jan Sangh ticket in 1971. This is the way he fought. He was a fighter.
So he's a complete activist.
Absolutely. And the nationalist political blood was in him. So that is why and I tell you 2 instances, I must tell you, 2 anecdotes. What is the strategy? Even another thing, Ramnathji told me on the 4th of January 1975. I said, Ramnathji, we cannot run the paper for more than another 1 month. Guru, don't worry, something will happen by this month end. Afterwards, I didn't meet him. I met him only after the elections were over. I asked Ramnathji, is it the election decision that you said that it will happen before the month end? He said, yes. I said, how did you know this, Ramnathji? He said, my astrologer and Mrs. Gandhi's astrologer were one and the same.
But what a moment that was, you see, a media baron playing a big role in the political atmosphere at that time, bringing political parties together. JP was at the center. But I hear this story, and you've also written, that when all these leaders came together, today, political parties don't come together. You had this India alliance, it is already broken up now, and Rahul Gandhi says, I don't want an alliance. But at that time, there was anger among the people, but people needed to be brought in together. And then these door-to-door campaigns were being thought about. You write that Vajpayee did not root for that idea, saying it would be curtailed by the intervention of the central government. People were saying, how do we reach out to people? And there was a talk that now we need to have a big rally at Ramlila Maidan. So I am quoting you, you are saying on 7th February at Delhi, there was a debate on the first venue. They wanted to skip the sprawling Ram Maidan grounds and move to a smaller venue, Chandni Chowk. But this was rejected and the opposition had to stick to the original plan. Indira Gandhi took all measures to stop the rally. Transport was stopped. The movie Bobby was telecast on Doordarshan. Because Indira Gandhi thought people will watch Bobby and not go to the crowd. But what happened? Did that rally happen? What were the crowds at that rally? Do you remember any of that? Were you there? Did you read about it?
No.
What was your lived experience of that moment about that rally? And what was the reporting around it that happened?
I was not in the rally. In fact, I was not in Delhi on that day. Because we had to manage the crisis of the Indian Express. It was a day-to-day survival, borrowing money, and even for paying air tickets, we had to borrow money, and that was the condition of the Indian Express. But when the discussion took place in the Janata Party, many people said we should have 5,000 meetings all over the country in every district headquarters. And everybody was saying we should do this, we should do this. Vajpayee said no, ye hoga nahi. Emergency hai abhi bhi. Police will never allow us to do this. So, बड़ी-बड़ी रैलियां होनी चाहिए. हवा बनेगी. This was Atalji's idea. And that will sweep the country. Atalji clinched it ultimately. So the first rally was in Ramlila Maidan. So everybody was worried whether people will come or whatever. But the way people converged
in one venue.
In fact, through a helicopter, Mrs. Gandhi saw all this. How people are walking to the venue. Then she asked, I think there was one Shastri who was the election commissioner, whether the election could be stopped. He said no, once the election notification has been announced, you cannot stop it, even under the emergency powers, because electoral course will work on its own. So Mrs. Gandhi knew on that very rally how the Janata, now I will read out, how the Janata tornado was described by the media. Addressed by the opposition leaders including Jagjivan Ram, who deserted the Congress party after the poll was announced, Morarji Desai, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Charan Singh, Chandrasekhar, the rally was described by political commentators as epoch-making. Now Chandan Mitra, who covered the rally, he has written, it was an act of defense, something India had not seen before. Wrote he, the emergency was still in force, but the people's response to the call was overwhelming. The rally conveyed the mood of the nation. Suddenly, all knew that Indira regime was collapsing. That one rally...
One did not have to wait for the election results to find out about the mood of the people. And that time there was no social media, there was no internet, there was very limited communication, but things were going across. And that rally had an impact across the country. I think not just, it was reported everywhere.
Everywhere. Not only that, every rally was like that.
Every rally was.
Every rally, anywhere it happened. I participated.
Where were you on the day the results came of the 1977?
I was in Delhi.
Tell me about that day.
When the results came, you know, in the Indian Express, at that time the results were displayed on a board. People used to throw currencies on that, on the board that was kept near the Indian Express. That Indian Express, you know, in that 7-10 days period, Indian Express copies would get exhausted. Wow. So at 8 o'clock, people will again come and ask, please print it again. So the paper was printed again and circulated. This showed that there is something, this is where I think Indian democracy is very, very important. It has got to the root of the people. Now it may have been distorted by politics, this or the other. But the electoral democracy has gone so deep into India.
What did Ramnath Goenka say to you that day? Were you with him?
No, yeah. He always believed that his belief in God was unmatched. He always said God will not let us down. God, he had 2 slokas. He always used to recite those 2 slokas, Bhagavad Gita. And once he recited the slokas, he will get the energy needed to fight. Then I thought, this man is not working only on calculations, political calculations. There is something which he
A
connects
higher
deeper.
purpose, yeah. So Mr. Goenka had a great role at that time, and I'm very fortunate I've had this. Do you know how much time has passed? We've already been speaking for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, what have we covered today? We have covered a period of India from roughly 1960 to 1977. So we are towards the end of the 70s. Because what you see in this is that many things which you know about Indian politics today, only the lived experience can give you the real picture. 3 takeaways from this conversation. The Congress then and the Congress now are unrecognizable. Congress, I mean 60s Congress. Secondly, nationalism was the creed post-independence, but something changed between the 80s and now, which we're going to talk about in the future. Thirdly, Lal Bahadur Shastri was the most underestimated person in Indian politics and one of the bravest prime ministers of the country. But the biggest takeaway from this conversation is that authoritarianism of the Gandhi family is deep-rooted. Those authoritarian tendencies continued with Sonia Gandhi becoming remote control prime minister, and in a way that same atavism is there in Rahul Gandhi also, that the feeling that they own the country. However, the people won. Indira Gandhi lost the elections. But there are lessons of what happened after that, which are very relevant in India today. And I will continue this part of the conversation in my next podcast with the great and one and only Mr. Gurumurthy. Mr. Gurumurthy, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. It's allowed
because I relived the whole
You relived the whole thing, and I relived a lot, which I had never. I've imagined the visuals and I have got a different perspective of history. And I look forward to our next conversation, which we will take from 1978 to 1991. Until then, I will thank you very much for being with us today. And I request everyone to watch this and share it with as many people, especially young people today, who may have no recollection of that time. Thank you for watching. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnab.
Thank you. Thank you.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 11th year, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
दादी के हाथों का जादू और खुशबू से महकता घर, माँ की मुस्कुराहट और खाने की सुगंध। MDH गरम मसाला,
क्योंकि हर रिश्ता है स्वाद से जुड़ा।
मुस्कुराए लड़खड़ाए जिंदगी, चाहे जो भी हो।
सर, पेशेंट के लिए कौन सा रूम प्रेफर करेंगे आप?
जिंदगी भर के प्यार का कोई रेट कार्ड नहीं होता। टाटा AIG हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, विद यू लाइक फैमिली, विद यू ऑलवेज।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात।
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है।
अरे मेरे राजा,
अब छोलिया हो या लोबिया, सफेद चने या काले चने,
सब कुछ मजेदार बने।
MDH